Hello, and welcome to the Physical Therapy Owners Club podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Shields. And today I have the founder and CEO of PT Wired, a relatively new software program in the industry. And the founder and CEO is Vikram Sethuraman. Did I say it right, Vikram?
That was right. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Cool.
Thank you for having me, Nathan.
Hey, thanks for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate you reaching out to me because I'm always open to talking with the founders and owners of those things that can make ownership easier, that can improve our capabilities. I've had different owners of different products over the last couple of years. And I've always appreciated the insights that you guys provide and also the passion that you have to help the industry. So tell us a little bit about you, Vikram, where you came from, where you got the idea for PT Wired. Of course, we'll share a little bit about it and get your contact information out at the end, but share us a little bit about what started your journey into what you've developed.
Yeah, absolutely. So unlike a lot of PT software companies and organizations, I think a lot of these companies have been founded by physical therapists who really have insider knowledge on the needs of PT clinic owners. That wasn't the case for me. I'm not a PT. I'm not a PT clinic owner. I actually got into the physical therapy space through my experience as a patient. When I was in college, I was an athlete and had a hip labral tear. Had hip surgery for repair, and then had a year and a half of physical therapy, and pretty intense experience for me. It's actually, I got the real point at which I felt healthy and 100% again. I fully credit with physical therapy. I actually had the
Awesome.
surgery and then had a lot of pain that came back, and it wasn't until I found a really good physical therapist that worked really closely with me that I actually overcame the injury and got back to full health.
Awesome.
During that experience, one of the first things I remember is going into PT fresh out of my surgery, maybe a couple days, and getting a piece of paper with my exercises scribbled down on there.
Yeah,
And I quickly
that's what we
thought,
do.
as a younger guy who's always on my phone, I quickly thought, oh, this could be an app. This could be so much more valuable if it had videos and notes, and if I could message my PT. And my brain kind of went off on a tangent there
Oh, cool.
of all these different ideas. And coincidentally, I was in an entrepreneurship class at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, believe it or not, the origins of PT Wired was from a college class on entrepreneurship, where
Oh, cool.
my project was this PT Wired app. And when I graduated, I had kept working on it. I really enjoyed it. I really saw some potential for it.
Cool.
So I decided to keep working on it. And, fast forward 4 years, here we are today. It's out in the market, being used by over 100 organizations, thousands of PTs, thousands of patients.
No way. That's cool. And so tell us a little bit about your app. What makes it specific? What makes it unique? And is it simply a home exercise program app in and of itself, or is there more to it than that?
Yeah, so this actually ties into, me not being a PT. When I first went into this, it was only designed as how could this benefit me as a patient based on my experience.
Okay.
So it was really framed for the patient. But what I quickly learned is the clinic owner side of this. And, obviously patient satisfaction and patient experience is one part of it, but it has to be in the context of the clinic owner and their needs and their values.
Yeah.
And that's what we learned. And that kind of led us down this track of still building a home exercise platform, a powerful tool to engage patients more effectively. But what we learned was the need for engagement to reduce patient dropout and an additional
Yes.
platform for marketing.
Yeah.
So realistically, where the product has grown to is it's a home exercise platform, but it's designed to basically get your patient to download the app to access their exercises, but then become a marketing platform that you can
Mm.
use to keep them engaged, and then also push promotional content, ask them for reviews for Google and Facebook, ask them
Cool.
for feedback, all these other features that we can get into. But yeah, that's kind of how we are positioned. The big difference for us is rather than them downloading a PT Wired app or some generic app from the App Store with their exercises. Every single clinic gets their own app in the App Store and the Play Store, fully branded to your practice with
Wow,
your logo, your
that's
name.
cool.
Yeah, so if your clinic is active physical therapy, it'll have your logo, it'll have your name on their phone.
Hmm.
And the entire idea is to sell to the patient the idea that your clinic, no matter how big or small, built this app from scratch yourself. They don't see our
Hmm.
name, and that creates an impressive feeling for your patient that you're really going the extra mile to give them the best quality of care.
For sure. And I love that about it, is that you can create this app specific to each physical therapy clinic. And I, l- I love the opportunity that you provide within that to have patient engagement, because we know, and I've shared in the past, that studies have shown that, what is it? I think it's 10 to 15% of patients that come into physical therapy actually complete their full plans of care. And that
Yeah,
leads to hundreds of thousands of dollars lost for the average outpatient PT clinic every year. And I think that the number actually comes out to around $150,000 per year on average that every clinic owner loses, simply because patients aren't completing their plans of care. And if you can bump that number up simply another 10, 15, 20%, man, you can save or so much money without significant amount of effort, right? If you can
yeah,
just keep those
it's
patients
massive.
that, yeah, if you can keep those patients coming in to just keep coming in, number one, they're going to get better results. Number two, they're going to complete their plans of care. Number three, that if they're getting better results by completing their plan of care, it don't not only benefits you as the owner financially, but man, your reputation is significantly better, right? They're going to say, hey, I actually achieved my goals, and that's going to turn around and go to the doctor. That's going to go turn to their friends, family and friends, and be a good marketing source. I mean, it's a great opportunity, as long as we can do as much as we can to stay engaged, right?
Hmm. Yeah, like you're saying, 90% of patients don't actually finish their full course of care, and
Mm.
30% of patients drop out within the first 3 visits. So
Oh,
a
really?
massive opportunity for improvement.
Hmm.
Um, and I think a lot of people, when they're thinking about how can I grow my business, how can I get more revenue for my practice, the first thing everybody thinks about is bringing new patients in the
Bringing new
door,
patients. That's right.
acquisition. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And what we like to really focus on is, yes, that's important, and obviously that's the first step, but that shouldn't always be the main thing you're
Mm.
looking at, because if you focus on the patients you already have, I mean, it's a common idea in business. It's way easier to retain a current customer than acquire a new one,
That's true.
or to sell more to an existing customer than to sell to a new one.
Yeah, right.
Um, so that's the idea, basically trying to do everything that we can to extend the journeys of these patients, get more people to discharge rather than drop out, and also just learning more in the process. Because another thing to know is, if a patient drops out, it's not always a bad thing. It
Hmm.
may mean that they reach their functional goals earlier than they were expecting to, or
Sure.
maybe than the number of visits they had allocated to them. But that's important to know. For example,
Yeah.
what we can see on our app is, if we can see that this patient who is not coming in anymore had been doing all of their exercises and reaching, having great results and progressing really well, that's really important to know, because now we
Yeah.
know this is a fan. This isn't a dropout that was unsatisfied. We can ask them for a Google review. We can ask them for a Facebook review. We can check in through the messaging system on the app in maybe 3 months to see if they're still doing well,
Oh,
and
how cool.
reactivate them if not.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of insight you can get from that. Whereas on the other end, if you can see very clearly this patient hasn't done any exercises, this patient, you know, has not progressed, you can detect a bit earlier when they're likely to drop out,
Mm.
and then maybe intervene by sending them a message saying, "Hey, I noticed that you haven't been logging your exercises as much. Are there any questions I can answer?" Really communicating that you're there and that
Yeah.
you're more accessible than only when they're in the practice and in the clinic and actually physically with you.
That's cool. And there is that opportunity to communicate in the app itself,
Mhm.
and to have the back and forth communication from patient to provider.
Yep, full HIPAA compliant messaging platform through the app.
That's cool.
And then that also, there's at the provider level, and then that, because it's a custom branded app, it opens the door to other marketing efforts, like for example, when COVID-19 first hit a couple months ago, imagine if you could, instead of sending out an email or putting something on your website, also send out a push notification to everybody who has the active PT app downloaded
Mhm.
that says, hey, this is what we're doing. We're sanitizing equipment. Everybody's wearing masks. Or, we're closed down for now. We reopened. These
Mhm.
messages that you can get straight to the patients on their devices, in a branded way. So it creates a more connected
That's
experience
cool.
when they're disengaged in between those visits.
So you can send mass messages in that regard.
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh, that's cool. Nice. And all this is on top of, I'm sure, the home exercise program part. You got videos of each exercise, and you can form templates and programs within the app itself for particular diagnoses or body parts, and then also individualized for each patient.
Yeah, so we have about 5,000 exercises currently. We own
Nice.
our own video studio. We have a whole content team, shoot about 50 to 100 every other week. So
Wow.
constantly expanding video library. We take requests free of charge, and we also have the ability for users to upload their own videos if they want to.
Oh, how cool.
Um, yeah, and anything that is uploaded is exclusive to that practice. So it's
Oh,
not
okay.
like you're putting out your content for other people to use. It's
Yeah.
protected. um, and yeah, so that's all included. And with regards to the exercise program creation, another thing we know is really important is building exercise programs quickly. A lot
Yeah.
of PTs opt for paper just because it's fast and
Because it's
they
quick.
can write it
Grab a
down.
piece of paper, write
Exactly.
stuff down. Yeah.
Yeah, and hand it, and then you're done.
Yeah. Done that.
So we knew that that was kind of the baseline that people are working with. So we have things like exercise program templates, favorites, a smart search system with filters and tags, just to make sure you can get to exactly what you need as quickly as possible.
Hmm. And so, what are as you've had 100+ clinics using this, what are some of the benefits that are and comments that are coming back to you from the owners and users of the app? What are some of the highlights that they are talking about?
Hmm. So from the standpoint of ease of use, that's been one thing we were really proud of, just knowing how important it is to be able to build something that seamlessly integrates with workflow
Mm,
of the PT. We've heard a lot of how quick it's also gotten. We've improved it over the years. I'm not going to say that it was perfect right off the get
sure.
go, but that's one thing of creating exercise programs quickly, like I was mentioning.
Nice.
In terms of the patients, it's all about creating super fans. So being able to get those patients an experience that gives them the wow factor. They are just wowed that a clinic with maybe 1, 2 locations and 3, 4 physical therapists has their own custom app. It just kind of blows a lot of patients away because,
Hmm.
like I said, they don't see what's going on in the background.
Yeah.
They don't know who PT Wired is or anything. And then being able to ask patients for feedback through pop-ups on the app saying, hey, how are we doing, 1 to 10? Being able
Cool.
to ask them to leave a Google and Facebook review.
That's great.
Those have been the big things that the clinic
Yeah.
owners have loved, is just how impressive it is to their patients that they have their own app
Hmm.
that's engaging and really shows that they're going the extra mile to deliver the best experience.
Now, this isn't just a home exercise program app to show the patients exactly what exercises you want them to do, but it also can track, like the patients can click and say, I did this exercise this day, and I did this exercise and this many repetitions and whatnot. They can um, post that, and the provider can see actually what's been done, right?
Hmm. Yeah. So all of the on the app, they can mark exercises as complete, and
Okay.
all of that data is accessible to the provider. So
Nice.
all the completion data. And another thing we do on the patient side is give them awards and achievements as they do their
Oh, cool.
exercises. So they'll get these medals and trophies as they hit streaks and number of exercises completed and number of routines completed. And going back to the marketing elements, some clinics have incorporated that into some marketing efforts where they'll say, hey, if you get the
Oh,
25 exercise trophy, show it to our front desk and we'll give you a free active PT hat or
oh, cool.
t-shirt or something like that.
So they can use it
Um,
for a game, and that tracks their progress, especially as it pertains to home exercise programs, because we used to do games for for coming to all your visits in a certain week, or during the month you come to all your scheduled visits and whatnot. But that just puts another spin on it, and the opportunity to gamify, if you will, the experience, and say, dude, if you guys keep up with your home exercises, we can track you on this on our app. And that forces them to the app, and it rewards them if they do, but not only rewards them if they go to the app, it rewards them if they do their home exercises, which ultimately benefits them.
Yeah, so we actually went through a behavioral economics focused accelerator here in Durham, North
Oh,
Carolina,
uh-huh.
run by Duke University.
Cool.
And a lot of the basically we were working with these people who had PhDs in behavioral economics, and were just focused on that, and working to make these small adjustments and feature changes to the app to maximize the impact on behavior.
Sure.
So one of the things we did was obviously the trophy and the gamification, and it's hilarious. We'll have patients email our tech support saying, "Hey, I forgot to mark my exercises, but I did them, and I'm going to lose my streak. Can you help us out?"
That's cool.
And another thing is, for the patients at the beginning, it's an educational tool. They're looking
Yeah.
at the app because they want to see the videos, they want to see the instructions, they want to see the list. But after they do it a couple times, maybe 3 to 5 or whatever times, they'll learn the exercises. But the trophies and the medals keep them still documenting everything on the
Oh,
app.
okay. Yeah,
So
good.
once they learn it, if they, say, no, I don't need the app now until I get new exercises, then we'll miss out on that data.
Mhm.
But if we have them hooked to working towards a medal or a trophy or a t-shirt from the front desk, that keeps them on the app, which then
Nice.
allows you to put things like promotional content saying, hey, we've got a free back pain workshop, or refer a friend to
Oh,
physical therapy.
cool.
All these other things that you could put on the app that they'll still be exposed to because they're continuing to actually open it to mark their exercises.
What a great opportunity to just back up what you're already doing, because I'm assuming a lot of people are, yeah, they're giving out home exercise programs, but now you can back that up by having a game behind it or a reward system. It automatically does, but if you can tie that back to the clinic by getting something physical, that's especially cool. But I like what you're saying about rewarding the referral system, because every uh, physical therapy clinic that I know that's super successful has a robust internal referral program where current patients are bringing their family and friends in for physical therapy, because the team is asking for those. But to now be able to do that through the app just gives you another avenue, if you will, a reminder. It just backs up the current program that you're already doing.
Yeah, and to do it in a way that is more selective and automated.
Hmm.
For example, like I said, we can see all the patients who are having the best experience based on the data that we're collecting.
Yeah.
So being able to identify those patients and then ask them for the referrals, and ask them for the reviews,
Yeah.
that's going to be the best impact for your practice.
Now, what makes PT Wire different than other companies that are doing the same thing? There are other companies in your space. I mean, what makes you guys a little bit more unique?
Mhm. So the big thing, like I mentioned at the beginning, is the branded element.
Yeah.
You don't go to a generic app. You don't go to some different brand. It's all under your own name. And then from there, because of that, that's kind of the root big differentiator. But because of that, that makes all the other marketing elements more impactful. For example, we've got partnership with a company, Practice Promotions. I know you've had Neil on.
Hmm.
They do blogs for physical therapy websites, and or they do websites, but they also put the blogs on the websites.
Yeah.
So one of the things we do with them is the blog that you get on your website is now accessible on the app. You get a
Oh, really?
blog button.
Oh, how
Yeah, you get a
cool.
blog button. You can read all the articles. So even though the
Nice.
patient may go on there for their exercise program, then they'll see all this other content.
That's
So
super
that's
cool.
really the big idea is it. You're not going to get a patient to download an app if you just say, hey, you'll see our blog, you'll see any updates, things like that. But if you say,
Yeah.
hey, you'll have your home exercise program and a message, you'll be able to message me directly, then they'll
Hmm.
download it because it's a lot more valuable to them. And once you have it on their phone, then that's when you can do all these other things like ask for reviews, push promotional content, give updates, these other things, because they already have it on their phone as an HEP tool.
Now, can patients also book appointments or request appointments and that kind of stuff through the app as well?
So they can request an appointment. Basically, how that
That's
works
cool.
is they pick a preferred provider and time and location, and that comes through as an email to the front desk. We don't have an integration with a scheduling platform at this time, so it's not a
Sure.
seamless book an appointment, update it, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Though that's a goal, and that's what we want to do in the future. But
Yeah.
as of now, they can request appointments.
Oh, that's super cool. Nice. And so you're a small business owner and you've dealt with a ton of other small business owners as far as the physical therapy space and talking to PT owners across the country. What are some things that you're kind of either surprised to see that we're not doing in the PT space, or things that you utilize that you think PT owners would benefit from using if they were to, I don't know, come into the 21st century? And because a few of us are a little bit maybe not as tech savvy, maybe would benefit us to do things a little bit more up to speed, up to date.
Yeah, I think project management tools are really really helpful for teams, small teams, and especially in a situation like we're in now, where you may not be as uh, physically with your team as much.
Yeah.
Um, my team uses one called ClickUp. It's a lesser known project management software,
Hmm.
but really kind of an up and coming one. It's very customizable. I would highly recommend that. And then just in terms of more general uh, small business marketing, I think people would be surprised how easy it is to do something like set up Google Ads
Hmm.
for their practice, and something that says dry needling in Raleigh or whatever,
Yeah.
and just get a Google ad for that, and there may be much less competition than you would expect,
Really.
and it's pretty easy to set up. So I think learning something like that would be helpful. But yeah, those are two that we
Uh-huh.
use.
Yeah. And I think most owners either might not know the space very well or not feel totally comfortable with some of the technology behind it. But I think, and I had Jamie Schreier on a few weeks ago where we talked about his huge recommendation was during the slowdown is to bring things into the 21st century. And he recommended a few project management apps as well, and to communicate with your team a little bit better. So it's not post-its and paper and simply email, but tracking projects that you have, whether it's regards to policy and procedures or compliance or audits and you name it. And use some of these software programs to track your progress so it's not all pen and paper. And
Hmm.
that's essentially what you did with your home exercise program platform.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, anything else you want to share with us today, Vikram?
Yeah, no, I think, like I said, focusing on dropout is a big thing that I
Oh, it's
think will help a
huge.
lot of people.
Yeah.
And the number one indicator for a patient that is likely to drop out is when they're not doing their exercise programs, low
Really.
adherence to them. So
uh,
yeah, I think a lot of people have the mindset that their job, they can only do so much. They can only give the patient the exercises, and then it's kind of out of their hands.
yeah.
So I would just encourage people to rethink that a little bit, and
That's
think
cool.
there are a lot of other ways you can still engage patients. Yes, obviously we can't do the exercises for them,
No.
but there are a lot of small things. And on our website, actually, we've got a free ebook that is how to optimize your home exercise program
Oh,
experience, and,
cool.
and things you can do for adherence, to make patients more adherent, and make them less likely to drop out. Just small things like wording and cues and engagement, and
Really.
tracking, to create that type of experience. So yeah, I would just highly recommend that people pay attention to those metrics, adherence and dropout, because if you know work on those a lot, you may never need new patients to focus on
Yeah.
acquisition. You
Right.
may be good to go.
As I'm working with my coaching clients, I purposefully steer away from marketing efforts initially because I look at it like holes in a bucket. And if you have these holes in a bucket as far as retention and maximizing the care that you provide for each patient, if you've got a ton of holes, you could add more patients to the bucket, but yeah, they're going to fall out through the holes. So as you start
Hmm.
plugging in some of these holes, then you recognize that maybe I can still improve and grow um, without so much more marketing. But when I do market, then it's going to accelerate even greater because I'm retaining those patients better, you know?
Yeah, no,
So
I love that analogy.
yeah.
That's exactly how it is.
Yep, holes in the bucket, got to fill them. So using something like this, whatever you can to retain those patients, like you said, I mean, those are the low-hanging fruit. They're already in your clinic. You don't have to spend a lot more money to retain them. You just have to spend a little bit more time and energy in doing so. And I also like what you said about, you know, a lot of times we think that we can only take the patient so far and then it's out of our hands. And I definitely believe the same thing. And that is the case when you're using pen and paper. All you can do is hand over the piece of paper,
Right.
their home exercise program, and say, here, go do these 2 to 3 times a day. Keep stretching, let me know how it goes. But I love how the app like this keeps you engaged with them and gives them something to go to. And it's so much more than just the home exercise program, which is really cool.
Absolutely.
Cool, man. Well, thanks for your time today, dude. I really appreciate you coming on, Vikram.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Nathan.
All right. Have a good day.
You too.